On the breakfast, stakeholders urge Central Bank of Nigeria to obey the Court of the Land, Supreme Court, despite the provisions of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act that gives it final authority on monetary issues in the country. Well, look at this on the program.
Also on the breakfast, President Muhammadu Buhari calls on developed and developing countries to grant duty-free and quota-free market access for products from the world's 46 least developed countries.
And of course, as usual, we have our daily look at the dailies. We'll look at what the papers have this morning with analysis of some of the major headlines. All right, a very good morning to you. We're back with the breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. We're reaching you live from our studios right here at Victoria Island, Lagos. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messi Ibopo. It's good to be back on your screen this morning. And Kofi, it feels like I haven't seen you in 200 years.
Wow. You must be Methuselah then. Yeah, but I know, Messi, you're not that old.
I know.
Yes.
I mean,
even if you're that old, you don't
I'm
look
just saying
it.
I haven't seen you in a while. That's
Even if you're not that old, you don't look it at all. Yes.
Okay,
and
so
it seems
that's
you had yourself a good rest.
Well rested.
All right. Anyway, you have Naira. You have some Naira notes there. Have you seen? Still?
Kofi, I haven't. Life has been so difficult.
All right. You know, when it comes to this Naira scarcity thing, I think the joke is on those who are saying, "Oh, we must go through it. We must suffer it. We will die. We will go through," because it will fight vote buying. They won't be able to buy votes during the election. Yes, let's suffer it together. We are in this country. You understand now? So...
You know what? I don't think that's part of a top trending week.
No. We're just about starting off. Calm down. We're warming the car. You know what I'm saying?
But Kofi, if you look at it naturally, if you had... Now, it's not like I'm holding brief for all of that, but logically, whatever this policy...
That word again.
What again?
That word again, logic. Go on.
Now, whatever... this is supposed to be. I mean, if it was followed to the latter, implementation, having the policy looked at thoroughly has always been a challenge for us. And a lot of people at this point, you would say, even from inception, there are too many persons who said this policy wasn't properly thought out. And that's exactly... Kofi, so sometimes I'm in the car and probably been driven, and then I want to take Agbalumo. And I will be looking at the Agbalumo. I cannot buy Agbalumo because I don't.
Mercy, you take Agbalumo?
Why not?
Are you serious?
I cannot. Don't be like that with me.
Oh my God.
So I can't even buy Agbalumo for 100 naira because I don't have 100 naira. I don't have 200. And I look at these things and I will pass.
You want to buy puff puff?
Just imagine.
Puff puff. There's one mama who sells puff puff. I'm told if I go to Joe Legba, I'll see one lady and she's so popular. If I want to buy my favorite, I like street puff puff. I can buy.
So
what do they call the English name for puff puff?
I don't know, but it's puff puff. That's what we know. So, but the thing is, it's really sad. Now, I want you to cast your mind back. Think about those who are doing this business. Those who are in the business of selling agbalumo, bottled water, sachet water. Those who are selling puff puff. Those who are selling akara.
All dead. Gone.
What's the level of patronage?
Gone.
Probably would have dropped.
Well, anyway, I want to congratulate Nigerians. I mean, this is the president-elect has said that his administration will continue the projects, the plans, the policies of the Buhari administration. So we might begin to see continuation of this. These policies, if they anything, the words of the president-elect are anything to go by. We'll see continuation of these policies. However, we'll have a discussion on this going forward. This is just to set the tone and the pace for the conversation. We no go agree. We no go agree. INEC results. We no go agree. Those who are shouting, we no go agree. It's not me. I'm not saying it. But this is just a dramatic representation of what may have transpired yesterday at the nation's capital, Abuja, where the members of the People's Democratic Party, supporters of the People's Democratic Party, and indeed their candidates, took a protest. They stormed the streets, went all the way to the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Abuja. All right, they took a protest all the way to the Independent National Electoral Commission, Abuja, to register their displeasure at the results of the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections. And you can see they called it a black day, a day of wearing black. I don't know whether, whether we can reframe it for them. Maybe you can call it Black Monday, And you can see some pictures of, these are PDP supporters. Can you see? Can you see? Messi, look at that. These are supporters of People's Democratic Party. I'm sure it's not a higher crowd. Look at some of the placards there. It's time for change. We know the winner. I saw a lot of this, we know the winner yesterday. Enough is enough. No more cheating, So these are said to be supporters of the People's Democratic Party. You can see Atiku Abubakar there. You can see Ifeanyi Okowa there. I'm seeing some really young people.
Dino.
Yes, you can see Garba Shehu there and some of the politicians. But amongst the crowd, I'm seeing some really young people. So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. They made some statements. I do not know if we can listen to them. Are we able to listen to them a bit?
We have the right to protest under the Constitution. It doesn't stop us from going to court, the fact that we are protesting.
We've been raped. Nigeria has been raped. There was an election which turned to selection. The INEC and the APC decided to select who they wanted. That was not an election. That is why we're here today, to give a petition, to give the mandate back to Atiku Abubakar, because he's the rightful person that won this.
We came here today in company of our teaming comrades to submit our petition to INEC because the elections of the 25th of February we feel were not credible. We feel those elections were tampered with.
The candidate of our party, the People's Democratic Party, he represents millions of Nigerians who wish for a better governance, who pray for a nation where equal opportunities will be open to everyone, a nation where the people will be happy to enjoy governance through restructuring. All of the things that we sold in our campaign, they believed it, they accepted it, they assimilated it, and they came out en masse and in millions to vote. And unfortunately, even though we have on the evidence of the result sheets, a duplicate copy of all the result sheet given to our agent at the polling unit, yet if you see the INEC National Coalition, you would see where they would tabulate numbers, and when you come down to the total, different. You will see places where the names of individuals from different parts of the country. You will see where they will say there's a biometric taken on somebody, and yet the background of the biometric picture is somebody who snapped at the comfort of his house. You will see where they sow the stronghold of PDP, and they create violence so that people will not come out to vote. These are some of the problems that has now informed our decision to come here and to tell the world democracy is under threat.
All right. So, we've seen some sort of like the clips of what transpired there, Messi. So that's what happened. We had, of course, you can see Atiku Abubakar, 76-year-old man, was there. He was there. He was part of the protest. You see Ifeanyi Okowa, his running mate, was there. You see Dino Melaye, still strong, was there. Garba, and a lot of these politicians that we've known over the years were there.
Well, Kofi, is such a time to be alive, if you ask me. And the thoughts of Nigerians are not different from, what I have been thinking about as well. And so people are asking, so you have governors or you have the elites, you have the likes of Atiku Abubakar, Dino Melaye, and the rest taking to the streets to protest. Now, let's look at the history of protests. It's not like we're trying to get away from it, but these are the thoughts of the people. Wow. People protested, nobody was shot, no tear gas whatsoever. This is really beautiful. And listening to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who was former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he stated clearly, it is our constitutional right to protest. And we're looking at the fact that, wow, so people can actually protest. And what happens when these persons, Nigerians, take to the streets in various states to protest against bad governance and what have you, policies of government, and what really usually turn out, what's always the outcome at the end of the day. It's surprising to see that it was quite different However, with the result, I mean, I'm just saying, the Labour Party also is also on the other hand saying we do not agree with the outcome of the result. It's the PDP. So is it going to be, whose report will we believe now? Was it that the PDP won it or the Labour Party? So you have both parties saying we want it, we want it. Do you remember the story in the Bible? I just quickly remember that, Kofi, where, you know, you had, I think I saw that in the Bible story where, you know, the one that had the child and the one that didn't own the child, you take the child, kill the child, and what have you. Fingers crossed, however, there are laid down procedures. It's okay to protest like Atiku Abubakar has mentioned, but also it's important to note that it has to be within the ambience of the law, not constituting as a threat to national security and what have you. But will protests yield the desired result? I mean, taking to the streets of, getting to INEC's office and wherever it is, or protesting across different parts of the country, would it force the hand of INEC to have a rerun of the election? Is the question that I'm asking. I remember vividly looking at following through the elections and reporting and monitoring all of the developments at the Coalition Center, where the likes of Dino Melaye had stood up to question a lot of, you know, discrepancies or make observation as to what was being said and what it is according to him. You know, the commission at the time had the right to whether or not continue. The chairman, he had the decision to make whether to continue with the process of collating the result or to take a pause. It's within his powers. It was within his jurisdiction. I mean, he took his decision and he decided to continue with it because it's not stipulated whether he should stop it, but he should use his discretion. So his discretion was, I continue with the coalition and all of that. So my point is, will protest yield any result? It's fine to protest. It's within your rights, as long as you do that in accordance with the law. But would it really yield any result? It's the question that I'm asking. Are there other means of engagement where you can have, because what are you saying? Do you have substance? They'll say it's not, you don't have any substance to this argument and what have you. So fingers crossed, but one of the things that we know is that the Labour Party had engaged the election tribunal arguing the outcome of the result, talking about transparency and what have you. And it's also the statement of the position of the People's Democratic Party, or however decide to take to the street. I do not have any report, however, that, you know, they have actually approached the courts. Well, but let's see how all of this pans out. Now,
yeah, Mercy, I think as usual, I'll just give my take on it as well before we move to the next topic. I don't know if we can show some of the pictures, but remember, this isn't the first time we're having election-related protests in the country. You know, we've had it before in the history of Nigeria. In this current democratic dispensation, in this current republic, we've had election results announced, and the candidates have gone out to protest. You know, even without elections holding before elections have held, we've seen candidates going out to demand for their rights, politicians going out to demand for their rights. There's something I'd like us to refer to. Maybe, I don't know if it's ready, we can show it on the screen. But all I can say on all I might want to see, look at this. Okay, you can see the dramatist personnel there. These guys were, individuals were not in power at a certain point in time. You know, they weren't in power. You can recognize some persons in that screen, Mercy?
Because that's the president, Muhammadu Buhari.
Because some people may not be able to recognize. And this is in Abuja, okay? And I think it just shows how time flies. You know, now the table has turned. You know, and the people who were crying, you know, for democracy to be sustained, you know, for their rights to be sustained, for things to get better in the country, and now the people in power, okay? And the people who were in power then are now the ones marching on the street, okay? So I think it shows Nigerians a lot about the politics of the country. This is Muhammadu Buhari and, of course, leaders of the All Progressives Congress. And they were rightfully campaigning for their rights, rightfully campaigning for fair treatment as far as the politics of the country is concerned. Now, at that time, the People's Democratic Party, they were the ones in power. Okay, and now the tables have turned. You see the PDP and its members are on the streets while the APC is in power. So I think it's also an opportunity for us to call on politicians to always work in the interest of democracy, always work to do the right things, because you never know. Tomorrow it can be your turn. And for those who are in there today, you could be the one outside tomorrow. I think what the countries that we emulate and the countries that we like to be one of the things that keeps them going is that they have strong institutions. They uphold the rule of law. They are very strong institutions. And we always will go back to Barack Obama came to Africa, and he came to Nigeria and he said, we don't need strong men, we need strong institutions. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission is one of such institutions that we need to strengthen. We need to strengthen the judiciary. So when you have strong institutions, it doesn't matter who is there. All right? The APC is in power today. At some point in the future, they will be out of power. The PDP, who are on the streets today, boasted several times that they're going to be in power for at least 60 years. Well, history has shown us that that didn't happen. So when you're in power, be mindful of the fact that if you do not, entrench and develop strong institutions that can stand the test of time, no matter who is in power, when you're out of power, it'll come back to haunt you. And that's what we've seen with the People's Democratic Party. Yesterday, they were in power. Yesterday, the APC, led by Muhammadu Buhari, were on the streets. Today, Buhari is in power. The PDP are the ones on the streets. We see countries where they can change the president even in a year, 2 times, 3 times. But what happens? The country continues to move. Why? Because they have strong institutions. All right? So we need to strengthen these institutions so that Nigeria's democracy can be strong.
Well, let's move away from that. Totally agree with Kofi right here on that one. We need to strengthen our institutions. And the difference between Nigeria and other developed countries is that they have strong institutions and not strong people. But we do have strong people and weak institutions. Now, to the second top trending for us this morning, what caught our attention or is of interest to us is that the Plateau State Police Command has detained a police officer, Solomon Darmak, that was yesterday was Monday, for, that act. I mean, he shot a resident over an argument whether who becomes the winner of, the elections in the state. And so he shot the resident on the shoulder during an argument on the candidate that will win the forthcoming governorship elections in the state. I can only imagine, what would have gone on. I know the tempers have actually been high, with all of this, and it's very important, that we keep it on. But I don't think the people will just begin to say that, oh, this is one of the stuff, people who are supporting XYZ or people who are not supporting XYZ. According to that report, this argument had happened on Sunday. It was an argument that happened on Sunday. I think this police officer, Mark Solomon, was having this conversation which resulted to an argument with that resident in a community, and then he shot him the shoulder. Reports are saying that he's been treated at the hospital, and we hope that it doesn't lead to loss of life. You can see the picture right there. It's quite unfortunate, right? I mean, the person that you're arguing for, really, does you even know that you exist? That's another question you need to, take into consideration. But Kofi, what are your thoughts on this?
Mercy, it's a really it's a really sad one. The police in command in Plateau State is saying that they held an orderly room trial yesterday for that policeman. Shooting someone during a political argument.
Why are you giving it the time, Kofi? Which one is political argument?
No, that's the report we have. It was a political argument, and then
because an argument is an argument. What's also that political argument?
And so are we? I mean, so we are tired of this. Mercy, I'm an advocate against police brutality, and I'm an advocate for police reform. Okay, I'm really strongly, in support of that.
In support of what?
In support of police reform.
Okay.
If there's anything that I'd like to be identified with is advocating for police reform. We're tired. We're tired of all of these things. Even if you want to talk about rigging, police are an active participant in that. They're an active enabler in that. Why? How many people did you hear say they were at their polling unit and bad boys came and police officers stood by doing nothing? How many people reports did you hear of police officers, following, thugs around and, enabling, politicians to rig? It's been happening. So we need the police to step up. I don't know. I think the police are incapable of fixing their own problems and working on their own issues, at this point. And the hope is that the president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be the one to end police brutality, in the country. And you said it, Mercy. Fighting on a policeman, arguing a policeman over a politician, and then you just bring out a gun and then what? It's like some stories you hear when people are arguing about Arsenal versus Manchester United.
No, I think you should use the correct one. It should be Liverpool
and Man U, and then a Man U fan will bring out a bottle from maybe they're in a viewing center on a bar and choke the person. It also calls into question the mental health of some of our police officers. The incidents are too many, too numerous to ignore. The mental health of our officers. That is something that needs to be talked about. You give someone a gun. Before you give someone a gun, you got to make sure that the person is okay. All right? You have to make sure the person is okay to handle that gun. Is someone who engages in what do you call it again? Who engages in such an act? Is he mentally okay? That's the question to ask. Is someone who engages in such an act mentally okay? That you're having a political argument with an individual, all right? I don't know who they're arguing. Maybe I'm sure it's APC versus Labour Party. I believe that's the most polarized argument you can hear today. All right, so you're having that argument. And then the person with a gun says, okay, I'm going to settle this argument. How am I going to settle it? I'm going to shoot you. That is really, really disheartening, Mercy. And it calls for a reassessment of the mental health of our police officers.
And apart from that, Kofi, arguments are usually what people have. So I think that, this is a case where a police officer is involved and then he had the means to, he had access to a gun, and that's why he could pull it out at the time that he could pull it out.
And shot the guy.
And shot the guy.
He could have died.
Yeah, he could have died. Look at that. You just imagine. But I understand that every other time people have arguments. But I think that it's important that people move away from having arguments and rather have, a conversation. It's okay not to agree with, with another party's opinion. People are allowed to, have opinion and believe in whatever it is that they believe. We live in a free world and we live in democracy. You are a free being. And so it's okay to believe whatever it is you want to believe, as long as that does not constitute, to causing harm or bringing mayhem to another party, then it's all right. As long as that does not translate into affecting the security of one person or the state, it's okay to believe in whatever it is you want to believe in. And people should, we should learn to understand that people would have divergent view and, perspective to events and stuff and, quickly move on.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
I just need to add something. The police have been in this situation before, not the exact situation. And we must commend the Plateau State Police Command for starting the orderly room trial for this guy. Okay, that's the police officer. But the thing is this: the police are more often than not, they are reluctant to punish their own. The body language is usually they will protect their own. Now we hear that the police have taken care of his hospital bills and all that. No, that is not enough. They need to compensate this guy for damages, and he needs to be taken to court. Okay. He needs to go to court rather, issue, all right? And I'm thinking at least 200 million, 300 million, 500 million naira, if not 1 billion naira in damages for this. It should be done. It should be done. And then maybe our police will begin to see how they can call their men to order. It's very important. This guy could have lost his life. Only God knows what this injury is going to do to him. for the rest of his life. All right, let's move on. It's sad. We can talk about this till tomorrow, Mercy. It's really sad. I know of a young man who was shot by soldiers. Just a stray bullet. He was going somewhere in Port Harcourt. He was in a tricycle, keke, and they just saw something happened. So a soldier just shot. And the thing was not meant for him at him. But he just somehow straight to him. And today he's an amputee. Amputee.
I've been in a situation
we'll
where
have to bring him on this program one day. And he has nothing, no compensation. His life, young man, has been shattered forever.
I mean, I've been in a situation in my house, in my house, when I say my house. And then, the police shot and the stray bullet was just in front of me. Just like in front of you, just a little inch away from you. So imagine what would have happened, with all of that. So another time where I witnessed police shooting for no reason. I mean, why would you just pull out your gun and shoot or whatever? It was in Lekki. It was so threatening.
Mercy, it's sad. I know somebody who was on a road in Lekki driving at night, and she saw police officers stopping her, and she didn't know whether the police. She was not sure. So she drove past. She wasn't sure if they were criminals, and they shot live bullet at her tire. So what I'm saying is, Nigerians are meant to be running away from criminals, not the police. Nigerians are meant to be running away from criminals, the bullets of criminals, not the police. The bullets of police are meant to be aimed at criminals all the time, not Nigerians. Now, you're running away from bandits, you're running away from kidnappers, you're running away from terrorists, you're running away from unknown gunmen as a civilian in this country. And then to add to that, now you have to also, pray that you won't be shot by a police or a soldier. Why? Okay? Why? And sometimes it seems like we just delight in bashing government. But no, people can't continue to die needlessly. They can't. Is this guy going to make it through? What impact will he have on his life? He's lucky. He made it through. He survived. But what impact will he have on his life? Let's quickly go to Corona School. Very quickly, Mercy. Of course,
Chrisland, you mean?
Chrisland School, I'm sorry. We have Corona schools and we have Corona inquests.
I understand.
Well, what's the latest with the situation of that girl? I saw her mother who put up a video, saying that the results of the autopsy is out. The coroner's inquest is been what has been on, the legal process to determine what killed the young girl. Really sad story. We're here. The latest is that the coroner's inquest set up to investigate the cause of death of Whitney Adeniro. That 12-year-old girl, a student of Chrisland School. It's fixed April 4 for the commencement of hearing. All right. So that's the latest. I don't think we need to say more than that. But Femi Falana, I think that man deserves more plaudits. He is counsel to the deceased family on this case. And Femi will not take money. Mercy. Himself, his wife, will not take money. They do a lot of pro bono cases. People will say, I can't pay. I don't have money. I'm being victimized. They'll take pro bono. Mercy. I've been in a court where this man's wife walked in to defend somebody I know who could not afford the legal fees. So that's another part of this. It's really sad, and we hope that the justice will be served to families.
Well, so the next question you want to ask is, Whitney has been buried, according to the reports that we see
last weekend.
Last weekend, and what have you. There were also reports that Chrisland had intention of exhuming the body and conducting another autopsy. Now, however, that's very saddening. Death is not something you want to experience, as much as it's very natural and is expected that we experience it, especially in that particular circumstance. There are reports, and hopefully we're able to have, the Adedirons on the show. There are reports saying that you had both parties, so you don't say there was a foul play. You had both parties witnessing the entire process and procedures as to the autopsy. An autopsy is an autopsy. It's a standard procedure. I don't think it's very different for those who are in Africa or in Nigeria or in less developed country. It's a universal procedure, and that's what it is. But there are reports saying that both parties were witness to the entire procedure, so you can't actually say that there's something wrong. Is it really necessary? Because when you say an inquest, it's fine to have an inquest. What's an inquest? You want to find out the circumstances that led to, the death of a person. What exactly is going on? And I say every other time, in the course of our dealings, in everything that we do, you remember prior to this time, we had a conversation that before we're anything, before we're broadcasters or journalists and what have you, you're president, governor, you're human. But we forget the fact that we're human beings. Before you own a school, you're a proprietor of a school, you sit on the board for the school, you're management of the school, you're taking decision, and whatever it is, you're a human being. But we seem to have lost our humanity every other time.
So you're talking about the school, right?
Yes, at this point I'm saying, what exactly is the point of the inquest, as it were? And like you have mentioned that Falana is a hero. Is a hero that I mean, because look at that. Every other time I look at some of the cases that he jumps on, and in most cases it's for those who cannot defend themselves, being the voice for them and what have you. So, but my point here is, what exactly is going with us as a people? What's wrong? What's the essence of this inquest really for Chrisland? What exactly is the rationale behind it?
So the coroner's inquest is a legal procedure that is supposed to
look at the circumstance of the death. What happened?
It's a normal procedure for the law to now say this is what led to the death of the child.
So in other words, don't forget that there's been an autopsy.
Because somebody has to. It's life and death we're talking about.
No, Kofi. To be very honest,
because if I just say you killed my child,
so the family,
and you say I didn't kill, then somebody has to establish the.
Kofi, I want us to truth. Before we move on, the issue here is, prior to this time, there were too many, because of the speculation and the uncertainty. The school had a different report, and then there were also pockets of report because the family wasn't present at the time. I mean, I was privy to a voice conversation from a little child, and you can know that a student or colleague of Whitney, who was saying what actually transpired. And we could quickly just say, oh, it's a child, probably she's been coerced to say that it's a lot that could have happened. I'm saying an autopsy was conducted. And in the process of conducting this autopsy, both parties, the family and the school, were, involved in the entire process to the latter. So what exactly are you talking about? And then the result comes. That's the
school, right?
Yes. Okay. And then you have a result come through. And the result says this child was electrocuted. That's the cause of the death. Now, this family had gone ahead to bury, they're mourning right now. And then the school comes up to say, we have to, even when you had a representative. What exactly is the rationale is what I'm saying. Yes, it's a legal procedure. But I'm saying that when you have been,
the body?
Yeah, no, they had debunked that. They said, oh, we had no intention. But now you are moving for an inquest. An inquest is just to ascertain. It means that you're casting doubt on the report. That's what it means. Because you want to look at, you don't trust the process. But when you had representative, I'm not saying because, I'm just trying to say, I'm putting out the facts here and I want us to be very
and you've said the family is mourning and going through a lot right now, and it's a really sad time to be in a situation where you lose your child. It's a few things compared to that pain, and it's a pain that none of us want to feel. And our hearts go out to the family of this young girl and her loved ones, Whitney, and to their Deniros. 12 years old, and you're looking forward to her growing up and graduating. You spent money to take her to an expensive school, and the hopes and aspirations for the future. But you see, Mercy, even a murderer has his day in court. Government cannot say we have preponderance of evidence, whether substantial evidence or substantial evidence. Like our lawyer, I guess, told us last time, there's evidence that we have before you. But the law, government, the Department of Public Prosecution will go to court and say, my lord, it will be the state versus Mercy. Let's say Mercy is accused of, or maybe Mr. A. Let me not choose Mercy, so she takes it personal. Meet me outside. Mr. A is accused of killing someone. The law says you take the person to court. The person has to defend themselves. So as long as the autopsy report is there and it's been able to say blah blah blah, okay, there's nothing wrong. The coroner's inquest is normal, but I'd like to say we'll go through the process. There should be no rush. But I'd like to say that we as the public, I think we're learning now that we need to calm down and listen and watch and follow the process. Sylvester Romani, there was a lot of outcry. Now, those who were shouting, where are they? The case of the Christian girl who came out in that sex tape, they were shouting after Obi Franklin came and did what he did. Oh, the school closed it down. But later, some more details came out. So while we commiserate with the family, while we mourn, we calm down and allow the law take its course. That's it.
I mean, so we have to move on because we will be looking at the papers this morning. But just like I mentioned, that the process that you were involved in, it's not like the autopsy was conducted without your involvement or your knowledge. You followed to the latter of the process. And then you still say there's need for that. Well, it's fine. We take a break. When we return, we'll be looking at the pages of our front pages this morning. Please stay with us.